All right, everybody, welcome to 1 Million Cups. Thank you for coming out today. I'd like to take a second to thank our sponsors. We couldn't have this if we didn't have a great place to have it, and this is probably one of the most beautiful venues you could have a meeting like this in, so make sure to stop by Last Chance Pub and Cider Mill sometime when it's open and enjoy their menu or their fresh ciders, which are made right over there. Also, big thanks to Mazzavo Coffee for being our coffee sponsor, and as the meeting keeps growing, they are dedicated to just continue bringing more coffee, so that's super awesome. If you're enjoying this coffee, if you'd like to have it, say, at your business, you can keep 10 coffee drinkers happy for about $35 a month. They'll deliver a 5-pound bag of beans every single month or twice a month or whenever you need it. And if you have a larger business and have larger coffee needs, they can even provide and maintain coffee makers. So definitely want to consider having that. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce our first speaker. It's Danny with Elevate.
Thanks, man. Thanks. This is a pretty big group. See a lot of familiar faces. So Karen Gross was supposed to speak today, and unfortunately she had an issue with her mom. She had to travel to Arizona, and so she sent me an email Monday and asked if I would fill in for her. So I threw something together really quick. I watched a video yesterday, and it said I was supposed to wow you. It's hard to do that at times. Leadership is what I teach. Some of you might know me from my face on TV. I have a business called Absolute Fence. I've run that for 19 years. Very blessed to run that. Love the crew and love what we do. Through that, I've evolved into Elevate Leadership, where I teach leadership, and I also consult with other businesses, and I love to do that. A lot of things that I see with a lot of organizations is they actually don't understand what leadership really is. All business problems boil down to people problems. If people inside the organization aren't banded together with one vision, one mission, one standard, and one purpose, they're disjointed. It's the leader's job to cast that vision and that mission and then rally the people behind that. And I understand that some people go into organizations they don't care about that, they just care about a paycheck, but it's still the leader's job to beat on that drum and to let them know why they're there and what they're doing. All of us here as businessmen and women, we're passionate about what we do. And if we're going to build our team and hold that team together, we have to make sure that people come on board that want to do what you do. Obviously, a house divided cannot stand. And so if you have somebody inside your organization who doesn't believe in what you're doing, they're causing division, they're causing dissension. And so it's crazy how people move into leadership, as in typically I've been there for 6 years, so I'm next in line to become the manager. So therefore I'm the manager. I'm the best in my department, so therefore I am the best of the department. And truthfully, those are bad reasons why we should put people in leadership, because again, if they don't know the principles about leadership and how to deal with people, they can actually cause more destruction than they can building. And so leadership to me is really, really fundamental principles, what we base our life on, what we stand, what our convictions for. And all of those come out in our businesses. Knowing some of the faces in here that I see today, I know that some of you have crazy good convictions about what you do and what you're passionate about. And if people don't rally behind that, it's okay. They don't have to be on our team. But we have to surround ourselves with like-minded people who want to be on the same team. You know, I got this little note down here. Leadership is not manipulation or behavior modification. Mom, upside down and backwards is wow. That was manipulation. A lot of leaders do that to get people on board and to move their cause and to do stuff. But what they're doing is they're actually sowing bad seeds. And those seeds will grow eventually. And so if they grow and they're bad seed that we threw, we're gonna reap bad stuff. And so we have to constantly build our life and build our cause on good stuff that's gonna produce good seed. We can't manipulate people to get them to do. There's a saying that I really have come to love here in the last several years. It's short-term pain, long-term gain. Short-term gain, long-term pain. And so much we wanna get the quick fix now. We want people to buy our product. We want to be able to sell ourselves and looking for that really quick fix. Well, typically what happens is we've manipulated them or we've persuaded them wrong and they get buyer's remorse or they get something like that, and then we might get a bad reputation. Instead of having the short-term pain, long-term gain, it's hard to tell people no. When I teach in Elevate is you don't want to make every sale. Who here has made a sale in which they wouldn't have made it? Right. I understand that we have to make the sales. I get it. Got bills to pay, have employees to take care of, health insurance to provide for our employees. All of these things that cost money. But we as leaders, as we grow our businesses, sometimes we have to say no because we want better over here. In doing Absolute Fence for the 19 years, it's a compliment to be able to do what we do, and you know you're doing a really good job when your competition copies what you do. We set the standard for how we put in our fence, 6 foot on center, and do what we do, and everybody 19 years ago said, you're stupid. Why would you do that? It's based on price. You can't do that. You can't set quality. You can't be the most expensive in town. You're gonna get destroyed. We've changed the market. People are copying our pricing, copying what we do, and they even copy our mixing trailers as far as how we go out and set and do our stuff. And so was that hard in the beginning? Yeah, because people said we couldn't do it. You're always gonna get people out there that say that you can't do it. But if you stick to your guns and your convictions, and you have a plan and a goal that you're gonna achieve, that you're set out to do, they can scream and yell at me all they want. I'm gonna get it done. So, leadership is not manipulation. Elevate, to raise, to be on top, to move to a higher place. Leadership is lonely at the top. Leaders eat last. And it sucks sometimes from that 30,000 foot view looking down into the valley and you got the clouds and you don't know what's down there. I love to elk hunt. There could be grizzly bears down there. There could be wolves. There could be my competition that wants to take me out. I don't know what's down there. But I do know if I sit and reflect on what I'm trying to do and what I'm trying to accomplish, and I write that out, and I surround myself with people who want to do it with me, the sun's going to come up tomorrow. It's going to be a beautiful new day because we have people around us who care for us that want to be on our team. Billings is a beautiful community, and I love it. I've lived here my whole entire life, and there's a lot of stuff in Billings right now that I struggle with. We're almost 6 boroughs instead of 1 city. As we've divided how we pull this city together, how we, as the lifeblood of the community, economics. If we don't have economics, we don't have a community. Leadership is a vital part to that, as far as how we run our businesses, how we attract talent, how we treat our talent. It's crazy. There's books and there's data out there about the best businesses to work for and the worst businesses to work for. And it's funny how they kind of both boil down to the same stuff. It has to do with culture. How do you take care of your people? Do you stick to your primary flywheel? Do you stick to your vision? Or do you deviate because somebody came in and talked you out of it? And so leadership is vital to all of us as far as in our community, in our businesses, and also in our households. At Absolute, our vision is always striving to be better. And we teach leadership on the clock with our employees. We pay them to learn. We actually pay them to stretch too before they go to work. Then they take that home. And it's crazy the stories that we've heard from the employees that learn leadership, fundamental, basic stuff at work, and they take it home and they say, my marriage is better. They say, I'm a coach and my coaching style is better. I volunteer and I'm able to give more where I volunteer. Leadership is crucial. Thing about it is it can't be manipulated. You're working with people, you are people as well. And people are an asset. How you treat them matters. Questions? No questions? Yeah, Aubrey.
What is Elevate?
Elevate is a class that I put together. It's curriculum 101 through 401. I set it up like college. 101, I go to college and I learn the basics. 201 a little bit more, all the way into 401, which is a little bit more advanced. It's leadership and business combined. When it comes to business, everything boils into 2 veins. When it comes to emotion psychology, love and fear drives everybody. In business, the 2 that cause a business to succeed or to fail are lack of cash flow, lack of leadership. Cash flow, leadership. Everything boils into those 2 veins. So if you can take care of your checkbook really well, but you're a poor leader, you could be out of business. So, yes, Aubrey?
I was just going to say, what are some struggles or some obstacles you've had with Elevate that perhaps people can help with?
Yeah, it's a great question. So some of the struggles that I've had with Elevate, it's I love to see the crowd of a lot of people who are eager to learn and to grow their businesses. So my challenge is what are you doing to do that? You know, I independently on my own in my journey with Absolute Fence for the last 19 years, I read 200 books on business and leadership. That's how I wrote my curriculum for Elevate. If we're not investing in ourselves, is it selfish? Maybe, but I invest in myself so I can invest in my people. And I put it as a big block on my calendar to put out time each week to read X amount, to listen to podcasts, to go to seminars, to learn about leadership, to learn from people who went above me. If you aren't doing that, I would suggest that you should. So one of the struggles I have is a lot of people say that they want to learn, but the classes at Elevate are small. And I'm good with that, I like it. Because it's great, the growth that happens in the class. It's amazing the stuff that we've seen, the growth in the class. So did I answer your question, Aubrey? Yes?
So what are some of the things you do to generate cash flow during your slow times to try to promote more work, to try to get more cash flow coming?
Slow time as an absolute, slow time as an elevate.
Absolute, because that's kind of like a summer, spring, and fall business because you can't dig holes in the ground.
Yeah, that's a great question. So an absolute, you know, we're construction, so we're seasonal. And so we actually have 9 months worth of work. So I have to be able to put 12, believe it or not, I got to put 15 months worth of money in the bank to do 9 months worth of work. January, February, March, we typically don't work. Then we work all the way to December. That year's done, but I have to have enough money in the bank to get me through January, February, and March again, so I can start all over again and then do my cycle again and again. You have to be smart. Return on investment is huge, and I understand write-offs, but this is one thing that I've seen a lot of people get into trouble. I need to get a new pickup. Well, I want the write-off. It's a great $60,000 write-off, but no matter what, I have an $800 a month car payment, and I got a $300 a month insurance payment. That's $1,100 I have to pay every month. I suggest, and I say, no, buy used, pay for it. When it's paid off, but you don't get that tax write-off. I don't care. Give to Caesar what is Caesar. Give to God what is God's. Pay your taxes. At the end of the year, because you don't have those expenses in those 3 months where we're not working, I don't have to worry about that expense. I understand the write-off for the taxes. Again, you got to make money. We're in business to make money. So make your money and pay your taxes. I'll tell you what, it's a great feeling at the end of the year to make a bunch of money and to give that check to the government and say, you know what, I'm making it, versus having all the write-offs, having no taxes, but then struggling and going, how am I going to make my truck payment when it shuts down? And so you have to be smart with your money, especially in every business. Obviously, construction business with Absolute has a seasonality to it. It doesn't matter if you're in marketing, if you're in advertisement, if you're selling houses, it doesn't matter. Every business has a seasonality to it. The best thing you can do is understand your seasonality and store up in the grain house when you can and have it for when it's dry or when winter's coming. Learn your season of your business. So, did I answer your question?
What about employees? So what do you do with employees during the slow time? Because you still want to be loyal and you still want to be a good leader to them.
Yeah.
How do you compensate them during the slow time?
So at Absolute, we have two. We have salaried and we have hourly. The salaried are guaranteed. They get their pay all year round. Everybody at Absolute, if you're there for 90 days and you make it, we give them health insurance. So everybody gets their health insurance paid all year round. Those who are salaried get theirs guaranteed pay in the winter. When it comes to the hourly, when it comes to October, November, we start having the talks. We could get slow. You could get laid off, apply for unemployment, or get another job. You know, it's crazy. So we hear it all the time that I can't get good help and I can't maintain good help. Maybe we're an exception, but we don't have turnover. When we do have turnover, it's because a person leaves and moves on to better opportunity. Because no matter what, every position has a cap to it. Obviously, when you're in sales, the sky's the limit, go sell as much as you want. But other than that, pretty much every position has a cap. There's only so much we can pay out in payroll, be it hourly and salary, to our employees. You cannot award people pay based on time. You have to award them pay based on responsibility. At Absolute, We say, if you can do this and you can handle this responsibility, it's worth $1. When you get that mastered, we'll give you $1, but then we'll move you on to this task over here. When you can learn that task, it's worth another $1 or 50 cents or whatever it might be. And so you don't want to give raises based on time. You want to give it based on responsibility and ownership of that job. But when it comes to the men that get laid off in the winter, they actually kind of like the break. We work them so hard. I should say this, they work so hard. One of the things in the morning when we show up at the shop at 7, we drink coffee and read books on leadership, we talk about life. It's crazy how you got these big, strong, burly men. Some of them are shedding a tear because we talked about life. Who here hasn't had hurt or heartache in their life, right? And so these men too, and so we talk about that stuff. Then when they go out into the field and they run into a tough job, what they can do to get it done will blow your freaking mind. What our crews can do in a day compared to our competition is just mind-boggling. And I believe it's because they come together and they solidify, and these readings, they sharpen and they share life with each other. So when they get laid off in the winter, they're okay with it. This winter, because it's light, we're busy as heck. We've been running our crews all winter, and we're 9 weeks out right now on work, which is awesome and a blessing, and I'm very thankful for the community to support us that way. But our men, when they get laid off, they're jacked. They're ready to come back to work in the spring, and they're ready to go. We actually had one employee this last summer. He's getting paid X. Another company, different field, offered him $25 an hour, $9 more than what we're paying him right now. Well, then, he's made more since then. We've given him more responsibility, moved him up. He didn't take the job. And I said, why didn't you take the job? That's $9 more. He goes, Danny, it's not about the money. He goes, what you do here and how you help us grow. He goes, how I've grown the last 2 years. And this gentleman got out of prison. He was in prison for 13 years. And he said when he interviewed us, I just want to be normal. And that transition going from 13 years in prison, having to manipulate and connive and no boundaries, and he comes in and we set boundaries and we say no and no. He's like, I don't get this, but I kind of like it. And is it hard to hold that line? Frick, yeah, it's really hard to hold that line. But as I hold that line, and I do it honestly and truthfully with the employees, guess what? I got a loyal employee, might stay with us forever. I don't know. I hope that he gets skills, and I tell him all the time, you're learning skills here. Yeah, we're building fence, but we're teaching them customer service skills. We're teaching them how to run their schedule. We're teaching them how to work with each other. We're teaching them organizational skills. All these things that we're teaching them, we're saying, my goal is that you can learn so much from me that you're going to go over here, and they're going to pay you more. But you're going to use all the tools that I gave you here to make you successful, and they're going to transfer over here and make you successful too. And as I hold my employees with a hand like this, they never want to leave. Why? Because they're getting fed into. Eventually they will. We had one years ago that left us and moved to Spokane with his bride. She wanted to be by her sister. And he moved out there and he applied for a job at Alcoa. And he was an applicant of about 100. He asked if he could use me as a reference. I said, sure. He got the job and he called me back and he said, the reason why I got the job, Danny, was because how you taught me how to run the schedule. I was a production manager there, and for 4 years, you taught me how to run the schedule, deal with the crews, and talk to the customers. He goes, that was what got me the job. And to me, I'm like, attaboy, way to go, Josiah. Take care of your wife and your 2 babies. I'm glad that you got moved on, and they could pay you more, because I can't meet that. Just because we're capped, we can only pay so much. Yes, Gary?
What are the things about your business that keep you up at night, and what can we as a community do to help you with that? What sort of connections or knowledge might we have to help you?
Nothing keeps me up at night. I sleep really, really well. When I lay my head down, I am done. However, I don't know how to answer that question. Absolutes, Absolute's 19 years old right now. So at first, there were months, years where I was working 80 hours a week. You gotta do the grind. You gotta do it. I get it. There's no excuses for not doing the grind. It's just part of the deal. And I did that grind myself for probably 9 T's and 10 years, where I'm 60 to 80 hours a week, Monday through Sunday, doing the thing. I'm the bookkeeper, I'm the fabricator, I'm the installer, I'm the salesperson. Guess what? I've given all those hats away. Now at Absolute, I work 5 to 6 hours a week, as in the business. And all I'm there is support for the help. I got a little board, whitewash board in my office, and I got a couple different businesses, Elevate, Hopper Gobbler, and Absolute. Under Absolute, my role, encouragement. And I judge my job by 2. Is the phone ringing and are the checks clearing? And the answer is yes. We're getting calls for bids, and all the employees' checks are good. As far as Elevate, nothing really keeps me up. I've never really beat the street about Elevate. There's a couple here that have been in class before. We're going into 301 is almost over. 301 started with 201 and 101, so some people have been in it for 3 years. I just kept it quiet because I want to make sure that there's value there and traction before I go and scream to everybody, hey, come check this out. The last thing we want to do is jump too quick because we're excited, and then it fails. Not that I thought it would, but I just kind of live by a productive paranoia. Just based on, is it going to go or not, and let the people speak for it. So nothing really keeps me up at night, to be honest with you. Does it bother me that I think that it's such good material that more people should be in there? Yeah, but I can't force anybody to do anything, like nobody can force me to do anything. It's up to you, it's your journey. If you want to learn and grow and have better influence and rally your team, you're going to study leadership, and I hope you'd come to Elevate. Do you have a question?
You know, that kind of answers my question, but I still think you should be radical and president.
Thanks. Okay, fair enough. Yes?
It sounds like your leadership curriculum is mostly focused on business leaders who are looking to expand their opportunities in that way. How do you think a program like this would translate to the nonprofit sector?
So, first part of your question, I would say probably not, because yes, business, but non-for-profit is a business. Anything that takes a transaction is a business. The city of Billings is a business, for Pete's sakes. Money in, money out, decisions, people. When you look at any business, the big common denominator is money and people. And so even in the non-for-profit, in class, I don't know if anybody knows Misty Cool, Heather O's, they're both, Jake Penwell, they're all non-for-profit, and they're in there, and the stuff that they're learning is invaluable, because leadership, no matter what, to move people from here to there, to move a cause from here to there, you have to have influence. And no matter what, it's all boils down to having some skills. Everybody here is born with a God-given talent. If you use it or not, that's up to you. But we've never heard the term wasted skill. I take my talent, I could waste that, or I take the time to hone the skills so I can move my talent forward. And that's what you're doing when you're learning leadership. You know, I'm in the middle of another book right now. I read it years ago and we're using it for 401, but she revised it. It's Liz Wiseman. It's called Multipliers. In her organization, Liz Wiseman Group, her book and her whole thing is based on the diminisher versus the multiplier mindset. How can I go into an organization and multiply the intelligence in the organization? Or if I walk into it a diminishing leader, walk in and shrink the intelligence. Based on science, what she says, that any organization, the people are putting out 50% of their intelligence. Multipliers come in and they raise it to where they're able to use 100%. Then she gets the pluses on the other side. And the pluses are when people are engaged, there's no waste, there's no theft, there's no misappropriation of funds. There's all of these other little things that matter. How do you stretch this that should only last this long to this? That's the plus on the multiplier side versus a diminisher comes in and it squashes its people and they can't think. All of our brains are crazy wired, and there's a bunch of different parts to our brain. The two that we tend to fall back to are fight and flight. So when we have a boss who's a diminisher and he pushes against me, I automatically go to the carnal brain and go, do I need to run or do I need to fight him? If the environment, the culture that I'm working in has that mentality that I'm constantly thinking fight or flight, it shuts down my creativity. It shuts down all of these other parts of my brain that cause growth, that allow for growth. Because all I'm thinking about is, am I going to get in trouble? What's going to happen over here? I can't be creative. So it suppresses the intelligence in the room versus learning the skills to be a multiplier and increase the intelligence in the room. If we can increase the intelligence, we can solve the problems. So it doesn't matter if it's for-profit or not-for-profit. It's just basic skills that go across the board that anybody can apply to life, to work. Did I answer your question? One more? Going once, going twice. Yeah, Doug?
What's the number one benefit that someone would get out of Elevate?
Oh, first and foremost, it's personal development. I understand it's hard to look in the mirror sometimes and say, oh man, I used to do that. Oh geez, I used to be that. But as you learn leadership, the first thing you're doing is being selfish because you're learning all this stuff so you yourself can get better. I am Danny's worst problem because I'm in my head every day and I'm always getting in the way of myself. But if I can learn how to get out of my way and I can learn how to cope with who I am and help other people, I'm making myself better and them better. And so the first thing you're going to learn is it's self-development. But at the same time, you're going to learn skills how to work with people. Not everybody speaks the same love language. And learning that love language also happens in the office as well as at home with your bride or your significant other matters. And so learning those skills to move people and get things done is huge. But I'd say personal development. Yeah, Doug?
And a follow-up, if someone's interested in Elevate, how do they get involved and when is it?
Thanks. I put some brochures out on some of the chairs. It's got an email and some stuff on there. But yeah, we have classes every Wednesday. Actually, so like I said, Karen Gross was supposed to be here. She's a dear friend of mine. She asked me if I'd fill in for her today. We have 101 going on right now from 9:45 to 11:30. I sent an email out to all the members and said, hey, I was asked last second, do you mind if I go speak? And they said, sure. 301, pardon me, will be right behind this. It goes from noon to 1:45, and we're meeting in the quiet room at Faith Chapel right now. So yeah, anybody is more than welcome to come check out class to see what it's all about. As people check out classes, I'd visit with them and I'd see where there'd be a best fit, where you best fit. You might come visit 301, but understanding where you're at, you might be a best fit for 101, you might be a better fit for 201. But you can come to class. You can also email, there's an email address on the bottom of those pamphlets, and my personal email, if you got a pen, is D, and my last name, WYRWAS, @gmail. Good? Sweet. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for your presentation, Danny. And anybody who has presented, who has some announcements they'd like to put in the bulletin, that is, this is kind of bulletin announcement time. So if you are a presenter, you can submit something and we'll announce it now. We don't have any announcements for right now, but I'd like to take this time to invite people to become presenters or to invite their friends to present. Right now, we're booking about a month out. This is great. It gives us a lot of opportunity to promote the sponsors. It gives you guys a lot of advance notice about what's going on. It helps keep you engaged. This way we can help promote people better, and we can draw larger crowds. So if you have a need or a desire to present, go ahead and sign up to present. We're also taking on what we call caffeinators, which are people who will work with the organization. Unlike an organizer, you don't have to dedicate 3 to 5 hours a week in order to do this, but you can be deputized to reach out and find presenters and work with them and help coach them up and get them ready to present. So if you're interested in that, get with the organizing team and we can deputize you as a 1 Million Cups caffeinator. So our next presenter is going to be Safe Harbor Capital, and I'd like to introduce Ryan Mix and Aubrey Kincaid.
I think so. Am I on?
Yeah.
All right, how's everyone doing today? Good. I'm glad for everyone that came out, and yeah, it's a beautiful day. So, first of all, just a couple things real quick. Danny nailed it. I appreciate the presentation. Great job. And every moment that I've spent in Elevate has been time well spent. Time well invested, actually. So, if you've been thinking you could use some more personal growth, Elevate would definitely be the place to go for that. And Danny does a great job, and he empowers other people in the group to help encourage growth. So, and also thank you to Gary and Kevin and everyone else that's involved with 1 Million Cups. Dustin, who's not here, but everyone else that does this, I appreciate you putting it on. It's really good. I also encourage anyone that has a business that you would like to present, don't hesitate. Just come do it. It's not that scary. People are genuinely wanting to be helpful here, and if you have an inkling that you want to present your business, definitely do it. It's worth it. So, all right, we're going to go ahead and jump right into Safe Harbor Capital, and yeah, I've been working with Ryan for about 8 months now, and learned more in the last 8 months about real estate than I had in the past 40 years of my life. So I appreciate that, Ryan. I'm glad for the opportunity. And how many of you have ever wanted to get involved in real estate investing? This is interactive, so you can raise your hands. Okay, this is also interactive. What were some obstacles that kept you from getting involved if you haven't done it? Money? Okay, what else? What are some other obstacles that may have stopped you? Time? Okay, Drew?
Getting in over my head.
Getting in over your head? Yeah? Yeah, anybody else? Some things that may have stopped you from getting involved in real estate investing? What's that? Knowing how to do it, absolutely. So these are all barriers that can keep us from getting involved. Maybe the time investment of being a landlord was too labor intensive. Really, when it comes to being a landlord, that can be a pain in the butt. Anybody here a landlord? And so it's difficult sometimes. You have to deal with tenants and everything like that, and that can be very difficult. So what we're going to be discussing today, what Ryan's going to be talking about, is a little known investment strategy to get passive. That's the key word, guys, passive. I mean, do you really want another job? I mean, I don't think any of us is trying to get another job. That's the whole idea, is passive. You don't have to be hands-on and heavily involved. Passive, high yield, low risk returns in real estate without having to do real estate. So if you tune in for the next six-ish minutes, you'll be glad you did, because Ryan is a wealth of information on this subject. So, Ryan, go ahead.
Nice. We're going to put heavy emphasis on the word ish today. I'm going to do the best I can to get through this information. I'm going to have to teach you guys some stuff, a little bit about what we do, how we do it, and then we got a problem at the end that I'd like your input on. And I apologize, I'm going to have to blow through this stuff pretty fast. But today we're going to be going over a little known investment strategy to get passive, high yield, low risk returns in real estate without having to do real estate. And is this on? Is this working? Oh, there we go. Okay, cool. And just as a point of reference, I taught this strategy to my wife's aunt last summer. She's in her mid-60s. She lives in California, has never invested a day in her life. Not stock market, not real estate, not anything. I taught her how to do it. She invested in this house in Billings just a few months ago. Not a huge amount of money that she invested in it, but 4 months later, she got all of her principal back, all of her interest, has never seen the house, has never been to Billings a day in her life. So this strategy is really powerful. It really works. I know several of you in the room right now, but for those of you I don't, sorry, my slides are a little messed up here. I started a real estate investment company when I was 26 years old, right here in Billings. I was living off of unemployment, and I was nearly broke at the time. I don't have time to tell you that story, but just so you guys know, I'm not a trust fund baby. I did not come into a large inheritance to start in real estate, so I start at the very bottom. I've been a full-time investor in Billings for 9 years. I was a licensed real estate agent for 5 of those years, took all the continuing education classes. Today, I own a multi-million-dollar real estate portfolio, primarily here in Yellowstone County, and I have experience in almost every area of residential real estate investing, from flips, rentals, apartments, mobile home parks, Airbnbs, rent-to-owns. If you follow my wife and I on social media, you'll see that we like to travel. Last year, we escaped the February polar vortex. We were down in Florida, and that's primarily thanks to real estate investing. So real estate investing has helped us. I've made it work for me, but if I'm honest with you, real estate can suck. How many, I know Aubrey asked the question, how many of you have been a landlord or are currently a landlord? Keep your hands up if you've ever enjoyed your time spent in property management. Yeah, being a landlord sucks. Fighting tenants, you're trying to collect rent. Flipping houses, that looks glamorous on HGTV, but I've got one right now that I want to burn the whole thing down, take the insurance money, and run off to Jamaica. I mean, people aren't showing up for work on time, cost overruns. What happens if you don't sell the house? It always sells on TV. It might not sell in real life. So flipping houses is hard. It's actually really hard to find good deals. Contrary to popular belief, you can't just call up your local real estate agent and he's got a bunch of secret back pocket listings that he can sell you for 50 cents on the dollar. So real estate investing is really hard, and I firmly believe this, investing in the stock market is a lot easier. But there are some major problems with investing in the stock market as well. For example, the historical rate of return in the stock market is about 7%. That's the historical rate. That doesn't mean that's what you're going to make, but that's about the historical rate. But to get that, you need to invest for at least 15 years, most likely 30, and you need to reinvest all of your dividends. And the thing about stock market investing is timing is everything. So that 7% is a little bit of a misnomer because, for example, if you invested $100 in the S&P 500 on January 1st, 2000, you'd actually only have $90 10 years later, December 31st, 2009. So your money would have gone backwards over a decade. Studies suggest that the actual net returns that a mutual fund investor can get is really only 2.54%. And we all know the major problem with the stock market is it's extremely volatile. We have lived through many stock market crashes where literally overnight, 50, 60, 70% of people's investments have evaporated overnight. And when the market crashes, you've got absolutely no protection. The only thing you can do is white knuckle it with everyone else and enjoy the ride because you've got no insurance, you've got no collateral. However, there have been some people to figure out how to get the returns and safety from real estate investing without having to do all of the hard work. And these people have done very well with it. In fact, there's like 3 tall buildings in Billings, right? 2 of them are owned by these people, banks. Here's the thing about banks. Banks love to make money, but more than that, banks hate to lose money. So a bank is not going to invest in anything unless it's a really good, solid rate of return that they know they're not going to lose anything. So here's how they do it. Let's say you want to invest in this, and I apologize, I'm going fast. Kevin's going to cut me off soon. Let's say you want to invest in this cute little house over on 16th Street West. By the way, all of the pictures of houses and properties you've seen, you're going to see throughout the presentation are my real deals that I've done right here in Billings. So you want to invest in this property, you're going to go to a bank and ask to borrow money. And the bank is going to look at this and make their decision on whether they want to invest in this property with you based on a few criteria. The bank is going to first ask, how are they going to get their money back? So they're going to look at your job references. They're going to look at your income. After you pass those qualifications, then they're going to collateralize their loan, meaning that they're going to put a lien against the property, and if you don't pay their money back, they're going to take the property from you. But collateralizing the loan isn't good enough. They want to make sure there's enough margin in there, because if they do have to take the property back and there's some legal fees or whatever, they need to make sure that there's enough equity to cover their costs. So they're going to use a formula called the loan to value ratio, and they're generally not going to lend more than 80% of the value of the house. So for example, if the house is worth $200,000, they're generally not going to lend more than $160,000 on it. Then they're going to think of all worst case possible scenarios. What if their collateral catches on fire? Remember, it's not your house, it's their collateral. So what if their collateral catches on fire? Well, in that case, they're going to be named as a mortgagor on the insurance policy, and they're going to get paid out first. And then they're going to think of everything else that could possibly go wrong. And one thing they're going to think of is after you pass all of their criteria here, they're never going to give you the money because they don't want to run the chance that you're going to run off to Mexico with it. So what they're going to do is they're going to send it all through a third party. They're going to send it through a title company to make sure you can't touch it. The title company is going to do all the paperwork. They're going to put the liens on the house and everything. And then if they sell the house, the title company is going to give the money back to you. So that's how banks make sure their money is completely protected, and they've done very, very well with it. Banks make a stupid amount of money primarily collecting interest on real estate loans. So here's the secret. You can actually do the same exact thing. Here's how it works. Let's say I want to go buy this house, and instead of going to a bank to request the money, I go to you and see if you want to invest in it. And because it's much easier and quicker for me to work with a common sense, smart individual like yourself, rather than going through all the bank's loan committees, I'm more than happy to pay you even more money to invest in this property with you than I would have paid a bank. So what you can do, you can ask yourself the same exact questions. How are you going to get your money back? Well, for starters, I've got 9 years of experience. I've done millions of dollars worth of real estate deals, and I know that my business is built on reputation. So the minute I lose a penny of even private investor money, I'm done. Because of that, I'm actually more protective of private lender funds than my own, because if I lose my own money, I can recover from that. If I lose my reputation, I'm toast. So all things considered, I think I'm a pretty solid borrower. Plus, I've got a rock solid plan to make sure you get all your principal and all of your interest back within a very short amount of time. I'm actually going to sell the house. This house is worth $215,000, by the way. Here's the thing. I'm not actually going to buy the house for $215,000 in that condition. I'm buying it for $125,000 in that condition. I'm going to put 30 grand into it, and then I'm going to turn it into that. Your loan is going to be completely collateralized, which means you're going to have first lien position on the property. There's plenty of equity in this thing. That way, if I don't repay your $150,000 loan, you can take my $215,000 house. You're going to be named as a mortgagor on the insurance policy, and I'm never going to touch your money. All funds can go through a dedicated title company, exactly the way the banks do it. Banks have done this over and over and over again, and the risk in a deal like this is virtually non-existent compared to almost any real estate stock market investment, which is why banks will gladly loan you money to buy real estate, but laugh at you if you ask to borrow money to buy stocks. Okay, so this technique is pretty easy. We can kind of understand how it works. So do you need hundreds of thousands of dollars to do something like this? No, you don't. And I want to tell you the story of my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law was my very first private equity partner. And she was a banker for 25 years, but here's the ironic part. She wasn't very good with money because she didn't have any. So what she did have, though, was common sense. She could understand good, low-risk investments like this. And she had a home equity line of credit. So what I did is I went out, I found this house out in Shepherd that I could buy at a discount. And what she did is she wrote herself a check from her home equity line of credit to invest in this property with me. I was able to purchase the house for $120,000. It really didn't need a lot of work, mostly carpet and paint, needed about $15,000 of repairs. So there's some insurance and taxes money in there. So for about $137,000, I could have a $195,000 house. The loan to value on something like this is 70%. My mother-in-law invested $135,000 of her bank's money, not a penny of her own money, from her bank's money, and she invested it for only 4.5 months. So from the time she wrote the check to the time she got all the capital back, it was only 4.5 months. And the interest she earned was about close to $5,000, $4,800. The money that her HELOC cost her was only $1,265 because her HELOC was charging like 2.5% interest. She made about $4,800 in interest, so her profit was $3,554.99 of completely free money. Didn't need to find the deal, didn't need to swing a hammer, didn't need to do anything with this money, just got $3,500 in 4 months. The money that she's been able to make as a private lender, she's been able to put a new roof on her house and get a new car and everything. And she didn't need a penny of her own money, she just needed to know where to find the money. The deal I mentioned earlier from my aunt, my wife's aunt, she just invested $25,000 in this, and she got $1,000 back within 4 months of interest. So you don't even need to invest large sums of money here. You don't need any access to your own money to do this. You can do it through HELOC. You can do it through a 401k, through an IRA. Kevin's rushing me off. I got to blow through this stuff. You can do it through a life insurance policy, cash accounts, credit cards. I've literally flipped houses using credit cards before. You probably don't want to use any of these instruments to invest in the stock market. Maybe a few of them, but real estate would, short-term secured real estate loans would be great for any of these instruments. So, like I said, I've been doing this privately for the last 9 years, but recently Aubrey and I decided to put our heads together and create a much bigger business out of this. So we've established Safe Harbor Capital as a way for anyone to invest in real estate without having to do real estate. This is also a great way to invest in your community because the money stays right here in this community and we're using it to improve neighborhoods, provide housing, fix up properties. Here's some of the deals we have going on right now. You can drive by any of these as we speak. Here's a flip in the Heights that we're doing. Here's one in Midtown. This is on Avenue F. This should be on the market in a week or so. Here's a 5-plex that we're remodeling. Here's one in Laurel that we're just finishing up. This should also be on the market shortly. And here's our newest acquisition that we just acquired. This is behind the Starbucks on Grand Avenue. These are all well over $1 million of deals that we've got going on currently right now in Billings. Most of these are either fully funded or partially funded by private people in this community. To get involved, if you want to get involved in something like this, you need common sense. We're not doing speculative real estate developments or syndications or anything. This is simple buy low, sell high type stuff. I know everyone in here can understand that. You also need at least access to at least $25,000 to get involved. Remember, you don't need to have the money. You just need to have access to it. And finally, we need to meet you. Real estate is a relationship business, it's a people business, and we believe in honesty and integrity, and want to make sure that your values align with ours so that we can continue to have long-term, profitable, mutually beneficial relationships. So, why did we want to present today? What's our struggle? What can you help us with? I had to give this presentation really, really fast, but so I really apologize, but the one thing we can use is I've actually, even though I've been doing this for quite a few years, I've never given a presentation like this. I've never taught this information before. So one thing we are asking you for is your honest questions and feedback about the material presented today. Again, apologize, it was super duper fast. Was any part of this presentation unclear or unappealing? And then final question we would like from you is, what would be some of the reasons you would not want to work with us? We're making ourselves vulnerable, opening up for feedback, and we would love to hear your thoughts. That was 6 minutes, right? All right.
Okay, so any feedback in regards to these things? You got to help us out a little bit, please.
Can you explain further how you can use a 401k or life insurance policy?
So certain life insurance policies, like whole life insurance, for example, you can write yourself a loan, depending on how they're structured. Term life insurance, you can't really do that, but certain life insurance policies, if they're structured correctly, you can loan yourself the money just like you could with a HELOC. And then the other one you were asking? Oh, 401k. So like IRAs and 401ks, they have to be set up as like a self-directed 401k or IRA, but they're not that hard to do, and you could easily set those up. So those have to be set up appropriately as well. But it's ultimately the same type of thing as you're writing yourself a loan from any of these vehicles, and then you're paying yourself back generally within just a few months after some of these deals come through.
Gary?
Okay, so you guys invited criticism. I ordinarily wouldn't say something like this, but you were certainly asking for it. So I know and trust both of you, but if I didn't, a question that I might have is why don't you want to work with a bank, and why are you encouraging private citizens to leverage money that they don't have to give to you in order for your real estate company to work? Because that's kind of a big hurdle to overcome, because I just kind of have to trust you. And what if I don't know you? What about you makes it that you can't go to a bank yourself, that you have to turn me into the bank, and I have to go borrow money from a bank to give it to you? And then why are you so interested in this that you give me even more money on top of what a bank would charge?
Awesome questions. I love banks. I've got lots of loans through banks. I owe banks millions and millions of dollars. Okay, so banks are great, but they take time. You've got to go through the loan committees, and it just takes time. Some of these investments don't have that time, so it's worth it to me to work with private individuals who can move faster than a bank can. It's also worth it. It makes it much easier for me as well. And I'm definitely not encouraging anyone to invest in anything with money with money you're not comfortable in investing with. The opportunities that we're presenting here are basic buy low, sell high, simple real estate deals to understand. They're not like risky developments or anything. So you know, HELOC money or any of that stuff, it's completely up to you if you want to invest in that. But as I tried to explain very quickly, we set things up exactly the same way that a bank sets things up for themselves, to protect themselves. So your money is your money, whether it's your money, credit card money, whatever, is protected in every single way through insurance, through loan to values, through short term. You know, I mean, we're not locking this up for 5-10 years here. I mean, we're talking a few months. So there's a lot of ways that we try to protect the lender, protect ourselves, but ultimately it's up to you. These are investments, and we're trying to provide safer investments, what we feel are safer, higher producing, lower risk investments than, you know, a lot of the investment vehicles on the market, namely stock products.
Just one second. I love the question, Gary. I would say the biggest thing as far as working with private investors is having money on hand. You can get a deal right away. Without money on hand, you just really can't. Can we get another one? We had another Clementine.
Have you ever had an investment go south?
No. Not a private one. Mine, yeah. if it's risky, I won't. Like I mentioned, my reputation is top priority. So I will not. I don't. One of the reasons we want to meet people is because we want to know that we're on the same page. Because the minute I lose a penny of anyone's money, whether it's my mom's money, anyone, I'm done. Like so no, I don't want to do any sort of risky investments with this, and I don't want to do risky investments with my own money. Frankly, I don't have any stocks because I trust this more than I I just don't like gambling.
Gary?
Super quick follow-up. So understanding that that's the main fear and objection of people wondering why you don't go to a bank, if you could label that and put it out there in your copy right up front, like, yeah, we could go to a bank, but these deals are fast, and if you're willing to help us make a fast deal, and your quick explainer video, something in your copy would probably completely squash that objection.
Perfect, thank you.
Well, and I don't even go, I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I think that idea that you haven't been in this for 9 years and there hasn't been a negative, I mean, you very briefly touched on that, but I think if you were to capitalize on that a little bit more,
Sure.
I mean, I know you and your wife very well, and so I already kind of knew the answer, but I think that's, in my mind, I can think of a couple people who are not local in our community, but are local in the state who might be interested, but that would be the one thing that I know that they would ask.
Yeah.
Yes.
When you're having an investor do that, do you have more than one investor in one house deal, or is it just one-on-one, or how does that work? So if somebody has 25 and you really need 50, you have 2 investors. What's that?
Yeah. Sometimes we don't like to work with more than 2 because we will give you your own personal lien on the property. If there's like 3 or 4 different liens, it just gets too complicated, and then the people in 3rd and 4th position just don't feel any security at all. So eventually we probably will get into larger syndication type deals, larger multifamilies where we're pooling investors, but that requires different SEC licenses and different things that we just haven't set up for these smaller deals like this. Usually are 1-2 investors max.
Yes, sir.
I know this is kind of a silly question, but this is Montana. Why Safe Capital? Safe Harbor Capital. Harbor. We don't have a lot of harbors in Montana.
Oh.
Well, largely because it's an object lesson of a safe harbor. It's just a safe place for money rather than a tempestuous storm or a Rocky Mountain or something like that. A Rocky Mountain doesn't portray safety because there's 8 million ways to die there. Kelly?
The present where you talk about the stock market, and you give the example where it's 590.
Yes.
If you go again to December 31 of 19, that same amount, that 500 would probably be 3 times. So I think you just have to be careful when you throw that kind of number out. Yes, the stock market does this, but so does real estate. Maybe not quite the ups and downs, but real estate, when you own commercial property, and you talk more about residential, I can't just sell my commercial property.
Right,
I can't go out and sell it right now. It would have to be on the market 1, 2, 3 years probably, and I know that. So it's just, that part of the presentation to me was like, well, that's not really true, so.
Sure. Awesome.
Yes, sir.
Well, first of all, I grew up in Seattle, so I love the safe harbor. Because I've considered flipping houses before, so I'm a closet, one of those guys on TV. I like to fix stuff up. I got a lot of stuff I can do. So if you buy a house and flip it, and there's work to be done, if I put in the sweat equity and get that property up to stuff, how's that split up?
Yeah, I mean, we're open to partnership arrangements like that too. It would probably be handled just like any other contractor. So, I mean, you could have the investment, but then we'd pay it right back to you in the form of labor. There'd be lien waivers. It'd be all above board. But yeah, I mean, we're open to creativity like that as well, for sure.
Well, there are a lot of people that do live-in flips as well, and that could be a good arrangement. Yeah, maybe not in your case, but in some people's cases it would be. All right, anybody else? Yeah, Karen.
As rentals, or do you flip them all and just resell?
Some of them we will keep them. If we have any sort of private partner relationship, private investor type thing, they'll all be short-term notes. So we'll either use the money to take advantage of the deal real fast, like that's a good deal that needs to be purchased like now. Fix it up, and then in a few months we'll refinance with the bank, pull our money out with the bank. So yeah, we work with banks a lot, but they do take time, and some of these deals just can't wait. So yeah.
Oh, somebody over, Steve?
One thing, just to go on to talk about the investments and everything, because I've been in other areas where in 2008, 2009, Billings wasn't hit as hard in the real estate. So you got it, because that's where you're investing is here. I would talk more about that because in Florida, a $200,000 house was selling for 60 grand. And so, I mean, but here we didn't have that big of a drop. So you got to bring that out, especially with people who are going to give you money, that it is, of course, investing in the community, but Billings was safer than a lot of.
Yeah, I wish I had 30 minutes to do this.
Yeah. And that's a big reason why we want to meet people. So if anyone is interested in discussing this further, we can certainly take our time and dive into a lot of these things even more. Yes.
Are you wanting to meet people that want to become private investors or that want to start doing this process themselves, or both?
Both, anyone. I mean, even realtors, private sellers, anyone, who might have a property that either fits this criteria, or even if you're, you want to, you've got a property to sell, like whatever. I mean, like, yeah, we're just networking, meeting people. We're always interested in building more relationships and more connections in any way.
I don't know if Todd's still here, but he gave me a hot lead on a property a minute ago. So if you've got a property, we'd be interested in discussing whether or not we could come to a mutually beneficial arrangement, for sure. Oh, yes, sir.
The thing about, I like that at the very end you have these specific questions. I consider that whenever you're talking to someone who's thinking about investing, and just like your presentation is good, and then you're like, hey, if this works for you, good. If not, I understand. Like that really goes a long way when you need to build that trust. And just make sure that at the end of your conversation, after you've done demonstration, whether it's with one person or it's with 50, you're like, what do you think? Like feedback, questions, what are you concerned about? And help people process that, because this is an emotional decision, right? It's like you can build all the facts in the case, but if people still don't have that trust, they still won't get over that hurdle. So make sure you continue to build that into your presentation questions.
That's solid. I think that's a solid idea to have this at the end every time we talk to someone, whether it's one-on-one or not. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate it, Kevin. All right, Shelby.
I have two things. First of all, I connected to your stories more than I did the info. I think your audience might always do that, so it's a good way to frame your things. And you've clearly had success, and we love to hear and see what that looks like, because then if I'm investing, I can see myself, oh yeah, I'm going to make a lot of money. I'm going to do this. So I thought the stories were great, but I would frame it in a different way if you're talking to a group of investors. Just use your stories in a different way. And then my other question was, my other idea or question was, is it just in Yellowstone County, or are you thinking about moving to other areas in Montana or the U.S.?
Yeah, we will be in other markets shortly. My experience has been primarily in Yellowstone County, so that's where all of these deals were that you saw. So and like he was saying, Billings is a safe market, you know. Like, so I don't want to lose any money, so I'm cool staying here. But yeah, eventually we will be this year we will be branching out to other markets in the United States. But it won't be like a shotgun approach. I mean, we're gonna target specific markets. Yeah, but right now, you know, we've got deals going on here, and we've got roots here.
Success of being an educator about how to invest in real estate, that is everywhere. So it's easily a scalable program. That sounds great.
Did that? There we go. Now it's on. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out. I just wanted to make one comment. I really liked how they asked the questions at the end, how they kind of invited people to poke holes in their presentation. There's something really interesting about getting up here and being vulnerable. This is kind of where the magic happens. 1 Million Cups had 20 to 25 people attending, and we had almost no presenters on the books. And then we got up here and we said, hey guys, we kind of don't know what we're doing here. What could you do to help, and what sort of feedback do you have? And the result of that one town hall meeting, now we have like 50 or 60 people here every single time. So that's the magic that happens. It's really difficult to come up here as a business owner and be vulnerable, but if you can come up and be vulnerable and say, hey, poke some holes in this, maybe I don't 100% know what I'm doing. How can you guys help? There's something magical about asking for help and being vulnerable that gets you awesome results. So if you know anybody who's presenting, encourage them to get up here, be vulnerable. If you would like a chance to get up here and be vulnerable, something really awesome will happen. So thank you all for coming. And then I'd also like to encourage you, we don't want to drop attendance in any groups. So if you normally go to Collaborate, we've found out that if you leave by 10:15, you can still make it. So it's a little bit of a drive, but don't let's not try and hurt any other groups that we have. Let's try and attend them all. Thanks.